Welcome back, mamas, or welcome for the first time if you are joining us. I'm so happy to have you here on Fun Rich Mom. I am Mitch Blackford, and today we have Elizabeth Page, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. So we're going to dig into the good stuff. We're literally going to be going through all of the things that she would love to just tell you if you were to come into her office and she could just like, boom, right there. But I asked her about what is the top thing that couples come in and need help on? What is the top thing that husbands come in needing help for? The top thing that wives and moms come in, and also teenagers. We're going to cover all of that good and juicy stuff. And the really simple way to help anyone out through any of those things that they're coming in for. So if you're curious about that, or you've been thinking about like, that kind of sounds like something I've been wondering, then get ready to take some notes and listen up. So with that, let's get started. Elizabeth, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited too.
Yeah. So I was telling everyone in the intro, you are a licensed family and marriage therapist, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So can you give me a little bit of background and share how did you get into that field? What was it that drew you to it?
Okay. Well, I am previously married. I was married to my high school boyfriend for 16 years, and we kind of grew up together. In the course of that marriage, a lot of things from him I wasn't a fan of, and worked really hard to try to change him. And eventually I decided that maybe going to school and becoming a therapist would be my best bet at fixing him.
I'm going to figure this out.
Yes, I was going to know all like the mind hacks and the mental tricks and the things to say that he would be like mind blown and get his act together.
His
and obviously I'm divorced, so it didn't work.
But you became licensed and you learned a lot along the way.
I did. I love what I do. I really do. And even when I was in school, kind of recognizing like why I was there, I still, played around with the idea of switching from marriage and family to doing the licensed professional counselor route. And I always wanted to stay with marriage and family just because everything is relationships. The majority of people who come to see me, even if they're coming in for an individual session, it still usually has to do with relationships. So I'm glad I stuck with that track, even though I have to be honest and say couples aren't always my favorite people to work with.
So, now I have to ask why. What? Do tell.
Usually if people are coming to marriage counseling, it's because things are bad. Like, I'll have people sitting on my couch. I've literally had people say to me, we need you to tell us whether or not this is worth saving. And I'm like, I've known you 30 minutes. Like, I am not telling you that. So, it's something they probably should have started like 6 months or a year ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah. People are really volatile. It's hard to break through that. It's not impossible. It can definitely happen. But by that point, like sometimes people just get to be so guarded that it's really hard to be helpful for them.
So do you ever actually split up the couples then and say, okay, let me see you individually because I think I can work through this better, where you have free space to talk however, and then we'll come together and start working on it? Or is it just, yeah?
Yes. Usually at the beginning, I'll meet with the couple together, kind of see what I'm getting myself into. And then I'll do an individual session with each one of them to figure out like where they really are. They'll be more honest with me than they will with their spouse in the room. The spouse always hates that when I do that. But,
Both sides too, right?
yeah, but it's not like I don't have skin in the game necessarily. Like, I'm not going to pick sides. I'm not going to tell somebody like who's right and who's wrong. Oh, that's another thing people tend to think marriage counselors do, is that we tell somebody that they're right and somebody else that they're wrong. We don't do that.
I could totally see that. See, unbiased opinion says that I'm right. You should
Yeah,
listen to me. No, I can
exactly.
totally see that.
Look, if they weren't going to listen to you, like they're not going to listen to me either.
So what would you say is the top problems that people come to you with?
Um, as a couple or individually?
How about both? Let's start as a couple, and then I would love to hear maybe, yeah, individually both sides. I think that'd be interesting to hear, because obviously as women, we're already thinking of a list, right? Oh, I know what I
Yes.
want. But it'd be interesting to also hear, you're hearing from a lot of husbands as well, what they might come in on their own.
I'll
Just
start
give
with
us
the
some
husbands because
perspective.
they're the most fun.
Okay, I love that. Okay.
They're oblivious. They really are. Like, to me, men are easy. Like, men are easy creatures. That's a generalization and it's not necessarily fair. But men are
My
easy.
husband says the same thing.
They are. Like you, if you tell a man that there's a problem, they're going to go straight to, okay, how do I fix this problem? Right? They might not understand, maybe might not, isn't, they probably don't understand that there is like a whole set of emotional baggage underneath that thing that you're asking for. They just think problem, solve it. That's it. So usually by the time men come to me, they're like, this is out of nowhere. I don't get it. I've been working at home. I go and do X, Y, and Z, and I don't know what's happening. So that's the men. As couples, what is the most common problem? I mean, usually couples show up saying we have a communication problem. I mean, that's
Mm.
what they think it is. And they do, because they're totally missing the boat, right? They're just totally missing each other. But it's not necessarily a communication problem, because they can have normal conversations about like day-to-day business of their life, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But when somebody gets triggered or somebody gets in their feelings, or one of them wants to go a little bit deeper, it's like then they start to miss each other.
Mm.
So the communication problem exists, but it's more of like on that emotional level, like what's being communicated there. And that tends to be the thing. They're not really aligned or connected in that sense to pick up on those things. So they just say, emotions, this is what's happening. And, then conflict ensues.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then
And
for women?
then for women, it's usually that their husbands are oblivious. It's like the same problem. They don't feel supported. That tends to be what I hear from women, is they don't feel supported in their relationship. So women will feel like I'm the one doing it all, right? Like I have a full-time job. I'm the one who takes care of the kids. I'm the one who has to coordinate all these pieces. When I get home, why do I still have to make dinner and do the dishes and clean up the house? And he gets to sit on the couch. How is any of this fair? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's in that same sense of not being heard, but not really being able to communicate well to their spouse, that like I need help, and I don't just need help today. Like this isn't just a today problem. This is a pattern that's not working for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw this TikTok one time. I loved it. It was a guy who was just chopping vegetables, and it's all, maybe it was a reel. I don't know. It was the video. Anyway, one day I'll have all the things down. But he was basically chopping, and his little caption was like, "I don't help my wife. My wife doesn't need my help, because if I help her, it implies that I'm doing her a favor and that the task was on her. When we're
Yes.
married, the task is on both of us. I just do my part. I do what needs to be done, regardless of who needs to be doing it." And I just
Yeah.
love that perspective, because it's true. Because it's like, oh, can you help me with this? Now I feel like, oh, now I owe him, or or, it's like, oh, he had a hard day and now I'm asking him to do extra. And it's not that you're asking him to do extra or that you owe him. It's just, as you said, guys function in a different way than
Yeah.
women do. Women, we walk into a room and we automatically see, oh, wow, she needs some help with this and this and this. And we get in there
Yeah.
and and we just do the thing. And guys, they're have that single focus. And so unless it's kind of brought to their attention or it's become a part of their routine, they're probably not going to pick up on it.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging that we are built differently.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
We're built differently, and that's okay. But sometimes that means that, like, you got to let them know. You got to fill them in and tell them what you need.
Yeah. So
or
if you, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. What was your question?
So if you could take one of your clients and say, if I could have given you a piece of information 6 months ago and you had implemented it, you would never have had to have come here. That's a tough sentence to say. What would you say is the thing that you easily this most of the time? If they knew this, if couples knew this, they probably wouldn't even have to come and see me.
Boundaries. Yeah, boundaries. And to me, boundaries are easy. I love boundaries because boundaries take the emotion out of the problem, right? So, for instance, if I tell my husband he's going to start doing his own laundry, which he already does, by the way. But if I tell him, hey, I have a lot on my plate, and so I've decided, I can't do your laundry anymore. It's too much. I've got laundry for 2 other kids, plus all the sheets and the towels and all the stuff. And so I'm going to leave your own laundry to you. And I tell him that. And I say, don't worry, I'm not going to dump this on you right now. This starts on Sunday. And that's it. And I just say, so from now on, you're in charge of your laundry. And I'm not going to do it. Okay. And that's it. And if you need help learning how to use the washing machine or the dryer, I'll help you. Let me know and I'll give you a tutorial. And that's it. And then he doesn't do his laundry and it piles up to the ceiling. I don't have to get involved emotionally when he comes at me and says, I don't have any clean underwear. I don't have any clean clothes. What am I supposed to do? Well, honey, I told you I wasn't going to do your laundry anymore last Sunday, and I asked you if you needed help learning how to use the washing machine. That's it, right? That's it. So that's my boundary, and now your laundry is your problem. And they're freaking out, right? And so I'll still show you how to use it, but remember we had this conversation. I told you I wasn't going to do it anymore. And so we take the emotion out of the response because we have a really clear boundary there of what is and isn't going to happen. And so now I don't have to freak out or defend myself or get in a fight or an argument about it. I'm just firm on my boundary.
Yeah. And do most people have an easy time doing that?
No, most people are terrible at boundaries.
Really? How do you walk people through? I would think, and I could be wrong, I would think for men, it might be a little easier to establish the boundary. It's like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's logical. We'll do that. And women, we start to think of it and we think of the whole argument that might happen. But, and so we get into the, well, how do I approach this? And we kind of toe around it. And okay, so baby, so I need your help. I really need this. And the guy would be like, okay, so laundry. I'm going to do mine. You're going to do yours. Cool. Right. So does that seem about like how it goes? And if so, how do you guide people who have a hard time making those boundaries to let go of the emotion in it?
Yeah. Most people don't like to enforce their own boundaries. And that's where the problem comes in, right? Like we'll see people who are say nobody respects my boundaries. Nobody listens to me. Nobody, people are just pushing my boundaries. And I'm like, that's a you problem.
The things you want to say, right?
No, I say it.
You say it? Okay, cool. All right. I like that.
I explain, like we are the enforcer of our boundaries, right? Just like if I have a fence up around my property, that fence works to keep people out or to keep things in. And it's up to me, though, to go and check my fence line. And if I'm not the one checking my fence line, then things can come in or things can get out. But ultimately, it's up to me because it's my boundary. And, boundaries in relationships or emotional boundaries or social boundaries or time boundaries, all of those things, it's still up to me to enforce. So, like with the laundry, I say, I'm not doing your laundry anymore. And that's that. And then he's still dumping his laundry, in the community laundry basket. Well, don't put the laundry in the washing machine. Go dump it back in his basket and enforce your boundary. And that's the problem, right? Is that then when we get pushback on our boundaries, it makes us really uncomfortable to say no, to say, I can't do that. We'll think in our head, oh, it's not that big of a deal this one time, until one time becomes 20 times. And then, we're wondering whatever happened to that thing that we were trying to enforce. So that's really the problem with boundaries, is that we don't want to enforce them. We just want to be able to put them out there and then not deal with the discomfort of actually having to tell people, no, I can't do that, or no, I'm not doing that. And then the possible, pushback we get after that. Because I'm not saying that people don't still get in arguments over their boundaries. It still happens.
Yeah, of course.
But it's just about being firm and being secure in what you've said and being okay with that. Right? Gotta get out of pleasing.
How long do usually people take to get to that point? They come in, they've never had boundaries, or they've had some boundaries that they've spoken, but they've never enforced them. And now they're like, okay, I'm done. Usually, how long are you seeing till they are coming to you and they're finally like, okay, I've got this. I feel good. I'm okay with enforcing.
Yeah. That's a great question. I would say it kind of depends on the person. But when I teach boundaries with my clients, like, we don't go in like pedal to the metal, like we're laying down 20 new boundaries. Like, I do small baby steps.
Yeah.
Because we need to build up a little bit of success so that people can start to feel confident in this thing that they're doing. So, like, one of my clients recently, I had her, speaking of laundry, stop doing her teenage daughter's laundry. And that was the only one that we really worked on enforcing. And she's coming back to me and she's telling me, she thinks I'm going to do her laundry. I'm not doing it. She's running out of clean clothes. And, we're high-fiving, laughing about it. But, it was like that was the one that we worked on. And then from there, from seeing the success, from seeing that she could do it, from seeing that, okay, this works, and, she's feeling confident, then she was able to branch out and start implementing some other ones.
I like that. So speaking of kids, what would you say when moms come in? I would imagine boundaries is a big one with kids, but where are they feeling the most frustrated with, I guess, their mom life?
They don't have any time for themselves. They don't.
Yeah.
Which I think is unfortunate because, we're going to make time for the things that are important to us. So it's really more that they haven't made themselves a priority. And because they've let everything else become a priority. So that's what I hear is, I don't have any time for myself. I don't have any time to do X, Y, and Z. Well, again, let's shift this. Okay, what are you missing out on? How do we make you a priority? What do you need to start saying no to? Because really that's what this is about. We got to start saying no somewhere else so you can say yes to you. And again, go back to people pleasing and boundaries. That's hard. I gotta tell the PTA moms, no, I can't volunteer for this, or I gotta tell my kid, no, I can't take them wherever. Yes, tell them no. Absolutely.
It's okay. They will live.
No is a big sentence. It's funny. I tell my kids, I have a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old daughter. And I used to tell them all the time, I love telling you guys no. And they'd be like, Mom, you're so mean. I'm like, I tell you guys no just for the fun of it. And, I'm not making this up.
I believe you.
I tell you no, and I don't have a reason to tell you no. But in reality, I don't have to have a reason to tell them no, because my time is my time. And And also, I want them to be okay with one, telling people no, and two, hearing no. So that was my way of training them for that was you don't have to do for everybody else all the time. It is okay to tell people no. Just
Mm-hmm.
like I'm telling you no right now.
Well, and I like that you added in there that it's okay for me to tell you no for no reason. Because
Yes.
I think that, and especially, I've gone through this in the past where it's like, well, if I don't have a reason, how can I say no? I just need to suck it
Right.
up and do it because, I mean, how can I, like, I remember, so I have a stepson who's now he's 24, but when he was in the house and he was a teenager, like, I'd be like, okay, it's time to mow the lawn. And I did all my stuff, right? The house was clean, whatever. I'd finished my work, all the stuff. And I'm like, well, I could just go up and mow the lawn. Like, literally, I'm just sitting here. I have nothing to do at this point. And part of me would feel guilty to tell him, go mow the lawn.
Yeah.
And I literally had to just like sit on my hands and just be like, no, it's okay. It's his job. It's a responsibility. It's something he needs to do. He has to participate in the household
Yes.
activities. You know, obviously there were other things he had to do as well. But for the first little while, I literally, I felt like, okay, well, I need to go do something so I at least look busy. Because otherwise it's like, well, why don't you go mow the lawn? You're not doing anything. And it was so funny how much I had to really get over myself in that. And finally it was just like, it's time to mow the lawn. And I'd be like, I'm going to watch some HGTV. And that's fine. Because right now, that's what I need.
Yes.
I've done all my stuff. I'm good. I've taken care of my responsibilities. It's okay for me to sit and relax while you do your responsibilities.
Yes.
So, you know, I love that you said that because I know that I struggled with it, and I'm sure so many women struggle with it. Well, I have to be doing something. It's got to be like tit for tat, and it doesn't.
Right. Right. I don't know who's keeping score.
Yeah, yeah.
Except for us. You know, we're keeping score in our own heads. Like we have this illusion that we have to be busy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exhausting.
It is.
You know what? Let me sit on my couch and read my book for an hour. Like I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, let somebody else do something. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my kids, like, they don't understand sometimes, like, why I would tell them no. I didn't want to drive them somewhere. I'm like, we live an hour away from civilization. I don't want to drive 2 hours just to entertain you. So no, I'm not doing it. Let's figure out a different plan, a different day when this works for all of us. But no, I'm not doing it right now.
Yep. And now you get to use your creativity to come up with something else to do.
The day my daughter got her driver's license was the best day of my life. I'm telling you, that my world opened up.
You're like, freedom.
Now she goes and gets groceries. She goes and picks up her little sister. She goes and picks up her big sister. She's
That's
like,
awesome.
I don't know about me having my license. And I'm like, yeah, welcome.
Yes.
Welcome to the world. And I tell her, if I'm paying for your car insurance and I'm paying the car note on the car you drive and I'm giving you gas money, you better darn well believe you're going to help me out.
Right. It's like, it's not a free ride just because you're my kid.
So,
I love you. I'm going to turn you into a responsible adult. And that includes taking action. I know. I actually sometimes I'll go back and forth on that because, you know, I have two girls, 5 and 6. And so we have them in jujitsu, and that's 2 days now, 3 days a week. And we look at like, okay, well, and then we have other activities that they do. And it's like, oh, well, my friend has her kid in dance class. Oh, well, maybe we should do dance class or soccer or this or that. And I'm like, and of course you tell your kids like, yeah, I want a dance class. Yeah, I want to see all the fun things, of course. And then I sit back and I think I'm just literally giving myself things to do. Like I have to drive them here now, and then I have to drive them there, and I have to sit and I have to wait. And, you know, and I can only do so much from my phone for work or for whatever.
right.
And so literally like Andrew, my husband and I, we're like, okay, we have a limit. Like if they want to do stuff, that's great. We want them to be active. We want them to be doing stuff, and we're not going to give up our lives to do it.
Yes.
So, you know, if there's something that when it comes down to it, it's like, it's going to be a choice, and they're going to have to figure it out with us, obviously, until the time that they can drive or whatever, where, okay, which one do you want to do more? Because I want you to have fun. And at the same time, mom and dad still need to not just be a taxi service.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's not good for kids to always to have all of their time taken up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, because then they have this expectation of, like somebody's always going to entertain me or tell me what to do, or something's always happening. And so then when they actually have moments of boredom, they don't know what to do.
Yes.
So like it's okay for kids to like stay at home and play in their room and figure it out. Like be creative.
Yeah. How else do they find out different things or discover things about themselves or find out what they can come up with?
And you're absolutely
Exactly.
right. Like anytime you commit your child to something, you are now committing to that thing too. How
Yes.
much of your time do you want to give up?
Exactly. So then do you see children too, or do you mainly just see the parents?
I have teenage clients also.
You Okay.
Um,
So out of curiosity, what are the things that they're really needing help with these days?
um, it's funny. Kids actually don't talk much about their parents. We are not as big of an issue in
We're
their
not
life.
the center of their world.
They really don't care about us.
All that time and effort.
I know, they really don't. Unless they want to complain. Unless it's like
Yeah.
really like there's a lot of conflict and they need to complain. But yeah, for the most part, like kids that I hear from, it's usually, drama at school,
Mm, yeah.
grades, boys, or you know, your preference. But yeah, it's
It's just
normally not
something.
your parents. Well,
Normally
it's
not about their
my
parents.
parents don't get me. I hear that a lot. Like my parents don't understand me. And when I think
Yeah.
back to my 17-year-old self, I definitely would have said that. Like, and my
Oh, for
parents don't
sure.
get me.
So what's
So,
your usual response to that?
um, what is my response to that? That sucks. My response to that, I like to do sessions with the parent and the teenager, but if my teenagers aren't agreeing to it because they don't think it's going to go well, then I try to come up with strategies for them to help them convey things to their parents in a way that's not going to turn into a fight.
Mm,
So that tends to like let's work on some communication strategies. Maybe you write your parent a letter, maybe you send them a text or an email or something. As parents, I think we forgot what it was like to be as teenagers and to feel misunderstood.
mm-hmm.
Um, and we just want to go in there and just run through and tell them all the things that they should do and that they shouldn't do, and all the decisions they have to make and how they should live their lives, because we've been there too and we know it all. And while that all might be true, number one, kids are living in a very different time now than they were 20 years ago when I was a teenager. I'm so thankful I did not grow up in the social media era.
Oh, yeah.
But like regardless of everything we think that they should do with their life, I think number one, we want to be a safe place where our kids can come to and talk to us, which means shut your mouth and listen.
Mm,
So if I want my kids to come tell me things, then I have to be accepting of whatever that is that they might tell me. And I can still convey maybe disappointment or concern, but do it in a way where I'm not going to punish them for being honest with me.
mm-hmm.
And I think back to my own story. When I was 14, I decided to start smoking weed with one of my friends. And my parents were teenagers in the 60s, so I'm like, surely they'll be okay with this. This isn't going to be a big deal to them. I'm not even kidding. I tell my dad and my mom, and my dad goes nuts and tears my room to pieces because surely I've turned into a pothead and there's drugs everywhere in my room. And of course, he didn't find anything because I'm 14. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
But after that, I stopped talking to my parents. I didn't want to tell them anything anymore because I'm like, I was honest and look what happened. Why
Mm-hmm.
would I go back down that road? So me and my parents get along fine now, but that was the thing, right? And so like for me, raising teenagers, I look back on that and I'm like, all right, Elizabeth, even though you might want to strangle them, don't, because you want them to come back. And
Mm-hmm.
now they're older. Now they go to parties. Now they hang out with friends. I'm not going to be naive and think that there's not a possibility that they're getting into things that I wouldn't want them to. But if they go out and maybe things start to get sideways and kids are drunk, and I don't want them driving home under those conditions. I'd much rather them call me. I'm not going to, bust your butt for it, and you're not going to get in trouble with me, because I would much rather you be safe and alive the next day than something worse happen because you were afraid you were going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's what I say to parents is like, just be quiet and listen. You're going to want to tell them all the things they should or shouldn't do, but just listen and be thankful that they're sharing with you.
Yeah. And it's just, I think, another thing to keep in mind, because, I think it's a natural reflex where it's like, if we've been through something, we want to automatically, well, I can tell you about this and you should do it this way because I already figured it out. It doesn't matter what age person you're talking to. And in reality, everyone just wants to be heard, and not everyone wants the solution all the time. They just need you to hear it. And sometimes they can just figure out the solution by themselves because they were able to talk it out with someone. And it's the same thing with our kids. And they have to go through those experiences. They're going to have to bump their heads sometimes and figure it out, because otherwise they're never going to build that resiliency in life.
Yeah.
They've had everything taken care of for them. But yeah, it can be tough as a parent, because you're just like, oh, okay.
Yes. No,
just let them fail. It's okay.
I read somewhere somebody say having a kid is like having your heart walk around outside of your chest. And that is so true. I mean, they're so precious. You love them to pieces. You know that you would be devastated if anything ever happened to them. But you also there's so little we actually have control over when it comes to our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I was joking around with Andrew the other day. We were out with the girls, and I'm like, oh, they're so cute. And there's a part of me that I can't wait to see when they're grown up and who they become and their personalities. And I kind of want that to be tomorrow so I can see it. But then I want to be able to take them right back to where they're a kid so that they can be that precious, cute little thing. And I can, hug them and snuggle them. And I just want to be able to do that anytime I want. Okay, you're an adult today. You're a kid today. You're an adult today, just so I can have the best of both worlds. But then I think, I would be really pissed off if my mom was doing that to me. Like if someone, she had this power and is like, dude, mom, just let me be.
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. I love Facebook memories. I love when people look back at Facebook memories and like seeing the things my kids said when they were little, or looking at their pictures. Because I'm like, oh man, they were so cute. What happened? Also very much appreciating and enjoying seeing them become adults.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with where life is right now.
That's awesome. So, okay, one last question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm doing it all over again anyway.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, 3-year-old, exactly. Yeah, you're kind of helps out. But so this is a question for you, though. And I would imagine this comes up a lot. Identity for moms gets so wrapped up in their kids.
Yeah.
And you get to that point where you're about to be an empty nester.
Yeah.
How do you help women go through that, who didn't create those boundaries and didn't realize they needed time for themselves and just spent that whole time being busy around the kids, and now they're like, oh, what do I do now? How do you help them through that?
Well, we kind of got to get to know this person all over again. Because, the things they might have liked 20 years ago or 30 years ago, they might not like anymore, or it might not even be an option. So I have a fun little exercise I like to give people. I like to tell people, go do 5 new things this week. And they're like, oh my God, 5. Like, I have enough problems with 1. But 5 new things doesn't have to mean like 5 big things. 5 new things can mean like go eat at a different restaurant, go, I don't know, collect rocks on a walk, go check out a new park. Just 5 new things to maybe just like broaden your horizons a little bit. And then also I like to check back in with like our younger selves, so like for me, I always check in with my 5-year-old self because she had life figured out and knew what she wanted.
So true.
But I think like whatever that might look like checking in with our younger self. Um, there's when we're kids, we're very self-centered. So we had things that we knew we liked and things that we knew we wanted to do and things we knew we wanted to be. And I don't think that any of those are bad indicators of some things that we could have carried on into adulthood. For me, after I got divorced, I was like, you know what? I always wanted horses. And I lived in the city and never got to get horses, but I'm not with him anymore. And I can move out to the country and I can get horses. And 5-year-old Elizabeth was thrilled. 39-year-old Elizabeth doesn't bounce quite the way 5-year-old Elizabeth did, but we're still having a good time with it. I think like just being able to like go back and remember some of those things that used to excite us about life before we had kids and what, get back in touch with those, see if any of those things still stick.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Elizabeth, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me in Texas.
Are you available online for online sessions
I do. So I do. I'm a divorce coach. So for women going through divorce, I have a coaching program for that. So obviously, anybody in the world can find me for coaching. And then, if there's medical necessity and people need counseling, my website is theoakscounseling.com. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me through email. Yeah, that's probably really the only two. I'm not all in social media. I don't get yet, but Facebook and email would be the best bets to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Okay, I'll make sure that we have all of that in the show notes so that people can reach you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I know. I did a reel the other day, a Facebook Live, or no, Instagram Live. And I literally was like, there's no end button. I don't know how to end this. I sat there for probably a good 15 seconds just staring at the screen like, what do I do now? And then finally I was like, oh, X. Oh, look, that ended it. So simple. But yeah, I know.
So I do on my Facebook group online. Well, duh, it's online. It's Facebook. Jeez. But on my Facebook group for divorced women, I do live trainings on there. And the first one I did, like you go and start recording and it just like whatever your face is doing in that moment, right? And yes, I was like, oh, that's not attractive. So now I make a point of making sure I'm smiling when I hit record. But then the last video, there was a delay. And so I'm sitting there smiling for like 10 seconds before I start talking.
It's like this creepy woman just won't move her face.
Well, she's happy about something.
That's funny. And then we'll make sure, what's your Facebook group for your divorced women?
It's called Divorce Well, Navigating the Emotional Fallout of Divorce and Regaining Confidence.
Okay, cool. We'll put that in there too, because I'm sure there's some women that...
Well. You'll find it if you just type in Divorce Well in the group. Okay.
Because why divorce bad, right? I mean...
Hey, we don't have to lose our minds just because we're not with a man anymore, okay, ladies? We are autonomous and independent and can still do all the things, and we don't need a man to make us feel whole.
There you go. And there's still possibility after divorce.
Absolutely. I love being married. And that was one of the reasons divorce the first time around was so hard, and then I worked so hard to save it, because I really love being married and being a wife and being a mom and all those things. But, I also got to look out for myself too at the same time. And it just wasn't working. And I did kind of lose my mind in my divorce. Not really lose my mind, but that was how it felt. It's a roller coaster regardless of what side of it you're on.
I bet. Yeah. Well, glad that you have gotten the tools, and it sounds like you've got life on track. You have just a great perspective, and and obviously you've gotten remarried. You have your little 3-year-old daughter, so you've just got a growing family, which is awesome, and you're doing really well. So thank you for sharing all of this really good information and letting me just pick out the pieces. Okay, I want to know. I want to find out.
Thanks for having me. I'm in the business of listening, so it's a lot. listening. And so being able to just like, hey, do this, do this, do this. Like, I don't always get to just go there with people. So hopefully
Right.
it's helpful for someone.
You got to work the trail, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Well, cool. I'm glad that you got all of this stuff out. You were able to say it. And yeah, I know that there's going to be people that are going to be listening, and they're probably, a lot of people are probably going to be going, I know, I know, I know, I know.
Yes.
I just don't want to do it yet. I think that's where we find ourselves a lot.
Yeah. No, I tell people, and I tell myself this every day. This is what I say to myself before I get up and go work out, but it works for anything. Do something today your future self will thank you for.
Yep.
So, and then I go work out.
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then it's true, because literally your future self is only maybe 30 minutes, 60 minutes away. You can turn right around and be like, you rock. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it comes regardless of whether or not we prepare for it, so might as well prepare.
Exactly. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. With that, I think that is a good note to wrap this up on. And, as we said, you probably have heard some things that you're like, I know, you know, now go do. You have had the professional advice. Go do. Go make those changes. Go implement those boundaries. Go, start listening and waiting before you have to give all of the experience. I know that's when I totally have to work on all the time, because it's like my first reaction is, oh, let me tell you. So I am glad that you got to be with us today to listen to Elizabeth. Like I said, take those notes, go put them into practice. In the meanwhile, go out there, make it fun, make it rich, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.